With Disney making remakes of so many of their animated films, it was probably inevitable they would eventually reach the first animated feature film produced by Walt Disney with Snow White. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a landmark of cinema, an incredible achievement in filmmaking, and something that for a while was considered untouchable by the studio. They never made a direct-to-video sequel or television series about the continuing adventures of Snow White, and it even took a long time for the movie to get a VHS release and air on television. A live-action remake certainly has a lot to live up to, so how does it fare? I think this absolutely made a lot of right decisions when tackling this story. A lot of Disney remakes can fall into the trap of just feeling like a copy of the animated film, but with only slight alterations. While Snow White obviously borrows a number of elements from the classic movie it's inspired by, the filmmakers also managed to do their own take on the material. Director Mark Webb and screenwriter Erin Cressida Wilson seem most intent on providing a big grand fairytale musical production, and they give us that. They know when to put in their own ideas, how to utilize elements from the Brothers Grimm story, and when to pay tribute to the Disney animated film. Honestly, from the moment the film begins with Snow White's childhood and how the evil queen came to power, it had my interest. Snow White herself is a likable character, with Rachel Zegler depicting her kindness and her wish to see her kingdom return to its former glory. She's just someone who wants to help those in need, and we see the brightness her presence brings. Zegler had already been cast as Snow White well before we saw her breakout role in West Side Story, and I particularly remember seeing her perform I Feel Pretty in that movie and recognizing why she was chosen for this other iconic role. She absolutely delivers in playing this fairytale princess. As the Queen, Gal Gadot gets the opportunity to play a villain after making a name for herself in heroic roles. However, there's not a trace of Wonder Woman here, and you can tell she's having a ball of a time playing against type as she orders soldiers around and acts sinister. The Queen's animosity towards her stepdaughter absolutely comes through, along with the vain aspects of this iconic villain. One big change comes with Snow White's love interest, who's a bandit named Jonathan instead of a prince. I really like the dynamic between Snow White and Jonathan, with Andrew Burnett bringing a lot of charm to the role. We see how they connect with the way they've both been hurt by the Queen's actions, and I like the support they have for each other. They make for a solid pairing, with each helping the other when the situation calls for it. Both Snow White and Jonathan are resourceful and smart in their own ways, which does help drive the story and gives them solid development. Then we have the Seven Dwarfs. When they first appear, there is a bit of an uncanny valley element there, and I was not sure what to think of their designs. I did get used to them and how they looked after a while, but I'm not sure why they could not have been played by actual little people. Some of them even said during the lead up to the movie's release that they would have been happy to play the Seven Dwarfs. The dwarfs aside, I did think the visual effects were very well done, with the animals that Snow White befriends looking particularly impressive. Some of my favorite moments were the musical numbers, which had the right bounce in their step. There are of course a few songs from the animated film. Hi Ho's expanded here, and despite my initial uncertainty about the designs of the dwarfs, the animators did give them plenty of energy while also paying homage to their hand-drawn animated counterparts. Whistle While You Work is nicely performed by Zegler and has some fun choreography too. Surprisingly, the signature song, Someday My Prince Will Come, is not performed, although a tiny bit is played during the score. Meanwhile, Benj Pasek and Justin Paul wrote some new songs, and I really enjoyed their additions. Waiting on a Wish is a classic Disney I Want song, with Zegler belting her heart out and showcasing Snow White's feelings about living under the Queen's rule. The Queen also gets a Disney-worthy song with All Is Fair, which becomes a catchy number she plots and schemes. Gal Gadot does a great job performing it too. Zegler and Burnett are given some fun duets, including a sweet love song and a particularly amusing number titled Princess Problems. Whenever Disney Animation gets around to making another musical, I hope Pasek and Paul are near the top of their list of potential songwriters, because their work here shows they can nail that Disney sound. Overall, this live-action Snow White becomes a delight, as the intent was primarily to do a genuine fairytale story, and the filmmakers succeeded. Even though I'm sure the temptation was there, this is not a subversion of fairytale tropes. Mark Webb appears to want to celebrate what makes these stories timeless, along with adding a theme about standing up to tyranny, but not in a way that completely rewrites its title character. We still get a fable about the importance of kindness, and with familiar images like True Love's Kiss. It also avoids becoming a shot-for-shot remake of the animated classic, instead becoming its own interpretation with some songs and homages. The movie even includes a moment that recalls one of the deleted concepts for the animated film. Even though this trend of producing remakes of Disney's animated classics has admittedly been a mixed bag, I would personally rank Snow White as one of the best ones.